Thanksgiving, Americans celebrate with parades and feasts while the war on terror accelerates tonight. The Taliban on the verge of losing its last stronghold in northern Afghanistan. We're on the ground with the latest. Plus, a first-hand report from one of the most dangerous places on Earth. Anthrax. The mystery deepens. Investigators search this grandmother's home for clues. How did she come in contact with enough spores to kill her? NBC's Terrorism Task Force on the case. Friends in need. On a day of abundance, why tens of millions don't know where their next meal will come from. And the gift. An incredible story about children giving thanks and a very special fire truck.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Substituting tonight, John Seigenthaler.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, the nation gives thanks during a time of great loss and a time of war. Overseas, America's troops are enjoying a traditional Thanksgiving feast as the war on terror appears to be taking a new turn. Here at home, more patriotism and more security at traditional Thanksgiving occasions. A giant Statue of Liberty led off New York City's famous parade. And at the Ground Zero disaster site, no time off for hard-working recovery crews. But there was time to share in the holiday spirit with the mayor. We're covering all fronts tonight with NBC's Jim Maseda and Ashley Banfield in Afghanistan. We'll begin with you, Jim.
John, tonight the situation remains unclear, but it looks like the Taliban is losing more key ground to opposition forces, while the first plane load of humanitarian aid landed in the capital, Kabul, before winter.
More U.S. fighter bombers today went on the attack as they have for days, hitting Taliban and al-Qaeda targets as they emerge just south of Jalalabad, where some U.S. intelligence sources believe Osama bin Laden or his chief operatives could be in hiding. In Kandahar, the Taliban stronghold to the south, and Kunduz. The Taliban had said they would defend Kunduz to the death, but today hundreds of Taliban fighters began to surrender to the Northern Alliance. But then both sides opened fire. Confusion on the ground as one Northern Alliance official claimed the surrender had failed while his own commander insisted it was holding. Just east of Kunduz, dozens of Taliban defectors were seen today with Northern Alliance forces. But the fog of war could draw out this standoff for days. The surrender could mean over 15,000 Taliban Afghans would be allowed to retreat with their weapons into the southern stronghold of Kandahar to join other Taliban fighters. But some 6,000 hardcore fighters, mostly Arabs, Pakistanis, and Chechens, all with links to the al-Qaeda terror network, would be either imprisoned to face trial or held indefinitely. Meanwhile, only 20 miles from Kabul, a new battle broke out. In Maidan Shar, a pocket of Taliban resistors who had been negotiating with the Northern Alliance suddenly attacked. We don't know how many Taliban are up there, says this Northern Alliance fighter, but they have refused to surrender, so we'll go and get them. But tonight, the Taliban are holding on, raising anxiety in the capital nearby. But there was some relief from the war as well. Earlier today, the first airlift of UN aid beat the winter cold front. Help for hundreds of thousands of refugees in Kabul alone who fled the fighting and now face a brutal winter.
We are giving them very basic emergency relief items, food and warm clothes and blankets to survive literally in the next few weeks.
Tonight, a grim discovery in the city of Mazar-e-Sharif, that key grab by Northern Alliance forces 2 weeks ago. Up to 600 bodies were found by the Red Cross. It's not clear if these are war dead or victims of atrocities. John?
NBC Jim Maseda. Jim, thanks. And now to the growing concerns over lawlessness and revenge killings in areas now controlled by the Northern Alliance. One flashpoint tonight is the city of Jalalabad, one of the most dangerous areas in northern Afghanistan. NBC's Ashley Banfield risked a trip outside the city to talk to Taliban fighters, now prisoners. Ashley, what's the latest?
John, just a couple of hours ago, in fact, 3 major explosions went off in the hills just around our hotel here, not more than about 5 kilometers away, shook the windows here at the hotel, and it's certainly proof that this is still a region in conflict here. Earlier today, I had the chance to travel about 20 miles northwest of here into the hills, and found a makeshift prison of sorts with more than 150 Taliban prisoners inside. Now, across Afghanistan, most POWs will deny through and through they have anything to do with the Taliban, but these prisoners were not only proud of their cause, they vowed to continue the jihad against America. Arriving at Khiwat, a grain warehouse has been converted into a makeshift prison. Northern Alliance Mujahideen are guarding it with the usual arsenal. He's a prisoner right now of war.
If American army face to face, we will fight. This is part of jihad.
You still want to die for the jihad?
If we did, we are success. We are success.
Is this success?
Yes, yes.
Today in prison?
Yes, yes.
This is success in prison?
We are arrested for Allah.
Arrested for Allah?
Yes. Not for anyone. Not for us. It is for Allah.
They believe in the Taliban still?
आपका तालिबान में यकीन है आप तालिबान पर यकीन है अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह
100%. Where is Osama bin Laden?
Osama bin Laden? We have no where he is. He is in our heart.
Now, those prisoners insisted they were Pakistanis, but their jailers told us that at least 40% of them were Arabs, and in these parts, that's about the last person you want to be as an Arab in Northern Alliance-controlled Afghanistan. John?
NBC's Ashley Banfield. Ashley, thank you. On the home front, no rest for this holiday for investigators trying to solve the mysterious sudden death of a 94-year-old Connecticut woman from anthrax. How and where did she contract this deadly form of the disease? The latest from Pete Williams and NBC's Terrorism Task Force.
In southwest Connecticut today, a dozen more experts from the Centers for Disease Control join investigators going over every square foot walked in the past several weeks by Ottilie Lundgren, trying to figure out how she breathed in enough spores of anthrax to give her a lethal dose. Inside her home today, state and federal agents mark out a grid for a painstaking search. With nothing else to go on, they focus on cross-contaminated mail as a possible source, even though authorities say the postal distribution center for her town showed no sign of anthrax just last week.
The regional mail sorting facility that would have handled mail going to this elderly woman was tested, and it came back negative. We're in the process of retesting that facility and her local post office.
Awaiting test results on her mail, officials find no obvious clues so far. Nothing from Trenton, where the 4 known anthrax letters were postmarked. No record of mail either from one of her senators, Christopher Dodd, whose Washington office mailroom this week showed traces of anthrax contamination. Scientists from the Centers for Disease Control say the bacteria in her blood is indistinguishable from the anthrax used in the mail attacks and shows the same reaction to antibiotics. They await more definitive DNA test results to know if it's the exact same strain. While some medical experts doubt that contaminated mail could carry enough spores to get into the lungs, Mrs. Lundgren's age could, they say, have made her more vulnerable to even a tiny dose. At a town meeting last night, some residents found that prospect alarming.
I am afraid. I wear rubber gloves. Someone told me to use Clorox and water in a bottle and spray my mail and throw all junk mail away, which I'm doing.
We're on the same mail route. We're in the same neighborhood, and we have a 13-year-old son and a 17-year-old daughter, and it's frightening.
Medical experts say it's also possible Mrs. Lundgren could have encountered some natural form of anthrax. Possible, too, that such accidental exposures could have been killing people for decades, mistaken for pneumonia. Possible, government scientists say tonight, but unlikely. They believe she died from man-made anthrax, whether or not she was the intended target. Pete Williams, NBC News, Washington.
As investigators worked that case and the country celebrated the holiday, recovery efforts continued here in New York at Ground Zero, a place that summed up all the emotions of a very poignant Thanksgiving. NBC's Rahima Ellis reports on the day.
In New York, perhaps more than anywhere, a very different Thanksgiving Day. Downtown at Ground Zero. Midtown at the 75th Annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. This year, in light of September 11th, Lady Liberty took the lead. A sea of red, white, and blue flags carried proudly before an estimated crowd of 2.5 million people who lined the streets of New York to watch this holiday ritual. There were all the traditional characters, Curious George, Snoopy, and Santa Claus, but pride and a sense of coming together, the most important parts of this parade. The warmest reception was reserved for the marchers and floats that paid tribute to the people who died in the attacks. Mayor Rudy Giuliani, the police and fire commissioners were among those on the Tribute to America float. Security measures heightened for this parade, with nearly 2,000 police officers on duty, many of them working undercover. As the parade made its 2.5-mile journey to Midtown, further south here at Ground Zero, workers continue searching for the missing, a job that's gone on for 72 days and nights, every day since September 11th. Today, workers at Ground Zero paused only long enough for a traditional Thanksgiving dinner served at a restaurant just steps from where the Twin Towers once stood.
I'm overwhelmed by the fact that so many of them volunteered to work on Thanksgiving. I think for them, it's a labor of love and patriotism.
Patriotism shared at Ground Zero, and today all across the city. Americans remembering what was lost and giving thanks for what remains. Rahima Ellis, NBC News, New York.
Next, NBC News in depth. Why are so many Americans going hungry on a day when so many others have so much? NBC News in depth tonight. Another Thanksgiving tradition, feeding the hungry. This is the first Thanksgiving in nearly a decade that America is not enjoying economic prosperity. As NBC's Lisa Myers reports, on a day when so many of us sit down at tables with a bounty of food, a growing number of Americans face each day without enough to eat.
In Zion, Illinois, Serena and Chris Delaney count on the local food bank not just at Thanksgiving, but to help with milk and bread for their 4 children every month.
I want to sign up for the basket.
Chris earns $11 an hour at a surgical equipment factory, but can't quite make ends meet. Still, it's tough for him to come here.
Thank you. It helps. Just you don't want to look all bad because you have to go ask somebody for help to get food for your kids, you know what I mean?
A year ago, this pantry was serving 70 families a week. Now it's 200 a week, and growing as the economy slumps. Most are working families like the Delaneys.
These are not homeless people. These are not indigent people. These might be somebody in your own backyard that just for a week in their life or a week in their month couldn't afford to feed their families.
But even as the need grows, contributions to this food pantry have dropped dramatically since September the 11th. And it's not just here. In Atlanta, demand for food up 25%, donations down 25%. New Hampshire, demand up 15%, donations down 50%. Seattle, demand up 7%, donations down 30%. In St. Louis, some food bank cupboards are bare.
If I could beg, I would beg that there be some kind of help.
This, as a new study finds, more hungry families now getting help from private food charities than from the government's food stamp program. Experts say that's because only 57% of those eligible are actually getting food stamps, worth about $75 a month. Why so few? Experts blame the red tape, including application forms in some states more than 25 pages long.
These are written at college levels for people who often are reading at a 3rd or a 5th grade level. The questions are enormously complex.
The Agriculture Department admits there's a problem.
We need to do a better job, and it's something that we're currently working on to ensure that the program addresses the needs of people that are eligible to receive services.
Ma'am, you're all set. I'll take it right to
But on this Thanksgiving, experts say that won't help 31 million Americans who don't know from where their next meal will come. Lisa Myers, NBC News, Washington.
For more about hunger in America and how you can help, log on to msnbc.com. And when we come back, NBC's Tom Brokaw with the man in charge of helping over 3 million Afghan refugees. Is this disaster just too big? The first family tonight is marking the holiday at Camp David. The The president began the day with an early morning run, then attended chapel with the First Lady, their twin daughters, Jenna and Barbara, and guests. Mr. Bush also consulted with his top aides on the war and the hunt for Osama bin Laden. But there was also time for bowling and a traditional Thanksgiving feast. And now to one of the major challenges facing the president, the enormous refugee crisis in Afghanistan and around the world. There are more than 3.5 million Afghan refugees, many of them starving. NBC's Tom Brokaw recently sat down with the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Ruud Lubbers, a former Prime Minister of Holland.
Can the people who fled the northern part of Afghanistan now return safely to their homes, in your judgment?
Still not, but that may be a question of weeks. I think we have to see, of course, if there are still pockets of violence.
After September 11th, 150,000 refugees made their way to the border with Pakistan. But before the American campaign against the Taliban began, years of war and poverty forced 3 million to Pakistan and Iran.
These are the numbers which we have to assist and take care of. All this in preparation, of course. But that's our ambition, to bring them back as returnees. But that will not happen before the winter, but after the winter.
The commissioner is openly critical of Pakistan and its president for not doing more to help those who tried to escape this latest war.
If you have a problem, it's with the government of Pakistan, who is very restrictive in accepting hardship cases to come in.
Do you think that the world has a full appreciation of the humanitarian crisis that exists around the globe in terms of refugees who are living now temporarily in camps away from their homes?
Certainly not. Basically, I have to my concern 21, 22 million people. These people were fleeing their country for violence or persecution.
Lubbers thinks the West, including the United States, should be more generous, and other countries as well.
What about the Middle Eastern countries that have so much in terms of oil revenues and other riches?
That's even more tragic. We have to convince them that the moderate Islam, let's say forward-looking Islam, can do a lot.
The commissioner says the world needs to draw on the lessons of an earlier refugee crisis.
After the Second World War, we are so proud to take care of the victims of the Cold War. We should go on and take care of victims. There are victims in this world. And people are persecuted, people who have to flee. And we have to go on with this great tradition.
Next, children proud to return a favor done for their hometown more than 100 years ago. The true spirit of saying thanks. One thing we can all be thankful for in the aftermath of September 11th is the unprecedented outpouring of support that has come from every corner of the country and the world. Tonight, we bring you the story of a very large gift that grew out of the very small donations from some determined school kids and fulfilled a promise made almost 150 years ago. NBC's Kerry Sanders explains.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
In Columbia, South Carolina, children at White Knoll Middle School proud of their country and of what they achieved. $8. They organized an auction, sold buttons and shirts at football games, held bake sales, in all raising an astonishing $400,000 for a unique gift to New York City, a shiny new fire truck.
It makes me feel really proud that children of our age can actually make a difference.
The community joining the kids, sending donations.
I am sorry I can't send more. I knew this was a generous-hearted community, but I never realized to what extent.
We knew we could make a difference.
Sally and William Mills giving up their vacation to Disney World. Their family donating the $6,000 saved for the trip to help buy the fire truck.
Along the way to buying a new fire truck, folks here discovered a long-forgotten pledge of help. This donation from Columbia, South Carolina, now fulfills a promise made to New York City more than 100 years ago.
It was 1865 during the Civil War. 36 city blocks burned to the ground here. New York City firefighters heard what happened, raised money, and bought the city a new hose reel. Columbia firefighters promised to someday return the favor. 9/11 became someday.
We're repaying this debt. they gave us the fire truck and we gave them the fire truck.
The new truck headed to the old Red Hook firehouse. 7 firefighters from the ladder company here died in the attack. Near the memorial, a thank you sign to the children of White Knoll Middle School.
So I'd love to shake every kid's hand right now. Just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll just go right down the line.
Earlier today, during the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, a chance to do just that. White Knoll Middle School students presenting a check to buy a new truck, letting New York City know Columbia keeps a promise.
This is a great finish to an old story. I think you couldn't write this one better.
Kerry Sanders, NBC News, Columbia, South Carolina.
And that is Nightly News for this Thursday. I'm John Seigenthaler in New York. Happy Thanksgiving. Good night.
God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea